All right, we're back.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Finish the list, or are we done?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're heading into the four things I think you either do hate, and I know you hate, or maybe hate.
Okay.
Um, so I'm going to start with the maybes because the one that I know that you absolutely will hate, I know we're going to fight about. So okay, we'll start with the maybes. So first up is the Paris Climate Accord. He re-signed us into that after Trump took us out. I think that's pretty good. It doesn't. It just means you're going to be making moves towards trying to do that. It's kind of like a promise. It doesn't really mean anything, but it's nice.
That's kind of
I think
why I
green,
think the
I
whole that was
think
really
green
the
energy
whole
is pretty
issue
okay.
that I would say. Yeah, it's just, yeah. I don't have an issue with reducing, any kind of pollution or any of that. I just, yeah, I don't think that's the.
It's kind of like just more like what is the country's like take on it, and I think like being like, hey, we're like pro green energy is a lot more like it's. I think that's a better message to send to the world than being like, fuck you, we want oil. Blah.
Yeah, but it's like pure posturing stuff.
I mean, posturing. I guess you could say it's posturing,
That's kind of why I'm
but
kind of like, eh.
it's well, like if somebody were to ask you the question, right, and you don't have to like, you're not signing anything, but if someone's like, hey, are you pro green energy? I think it's okay if the U.S. says like, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm saying is that's why I kind of like it's like is it a like or a dislike? It's more of a I don't really give a shit.
Hey, I was correct. I said it was going to be a 3, and I'm so good at that.
I don't know. I've been kind of putting threes as stuff where it's like it's got some good, it's got some bad, not
That's fair
necessarily
enough.
as I don't care, if that makes
You
sense.
hit a lot of fives though, which I'm proud of hitting those fives. Okay, riding with Biden. Anyway, another thing you might hate. I don't know. There is now a 15% minimum corporate tax, so Amazon can't pay zero in taxes. You probably hate that. I don't, because I want rich people and
I'm gonna
companies to
surprise the
pay
shit
more
out
of
of
their
you
fair
and
share.
say that I don't
Oh
really
my god.
know. I don't know how I really feel about corporations.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because corporations aren't people, and the whole point of a corporation is to shield yourself from other things. So to pay for that, I don't know. I have a lot
Okay.
less sympathy for them, if that makes sense.
Well, so that means that I was right because I also put a 3. Oh baby. Yeah,
It's like
I wasn't sure.
while I'm generally not a fan of taxes, I will say
Yeah.
that I don't really care to protect faceless entities that are meant to protect individuals.
Yeah. I mean, I
Like the
don't
whole reason
necessarily
you
agree
have
with the concepts, but
is to
sure.
diffuse your responsibility. So I really don't. It's the same reason I have an issue with government. It's like the whole reason you
Mhm.
created this is to diffuse the responsibility you would have for taking those actions yourself.
Yeah, totally, completely disagree with everything you're saying, but that's fine. Let's keep going. Anyway, um, okay, so I put this as a 1, climate subsidies, which I love, but you don't because it's a subsidy. Correct?
Correct. I don't like
Hooray.
subsidies.
Yeah. Can we put this at a 2? Because, like, I think you care about the climate, but you hate subsidies. Is a 2 fair? We haven't done any 2s.
Two might be fair. I don't know, man. I just really I believe that subsidies do more harm than good. So it's like why would I support something that I believe harms the environment because I like the environment?
Okay. Yeah.
That makes
Again.
sense.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
like it
again,
goes
totally
back to
disagree on that, but sure.
yeah, but like going back to what I've said before about subsidies is it disincentivizes the profitability of finding the better solution.
I mean, I just think that when you're looking, I mean,
And
God,
if
I
you
feel like I'm
do
just like,
already have the better solution, it incentivizes
uh-huh.
waste. Case in point, the food industry. How many gallons of milk are just dumped for no goddamn reason other than otherwise there'd be too much milk in the supply?
Well, that's a whole other thing
While
that
we're
I don't want to
paying
get.
them money for the milk.
It's a whole other thing that I don't want to get into. All right, I don't want to get into that specific one. But okay, and I know that I'm going to sound like a broken record. But when it comes to things that just like aren't as profitable, so there's a concept in economics that I know you know, right? Which is fuck. What is this word? Uh, fuck. Okay, so you and I make a transaction, right? It's like a mutually beneficial transaction. What do they call that?
Mutual, uh, mutually beneficial. I don't know. Maybe.
No, fuck. Shit. I can't remember this term, but essentially, it's saying like it's saying that basically like the transaction is effective, but it doesn't necessarily say anything about whether it's like right or wrong, right? Like I could have paid you like $10,000 for a bottle of water, and I didn't want to pay you that, but it's what you were charging me, and I don't really have any choice, right? And
Right.
that is economically efficacious, but I mean, it doesn't say anything moral about the transaction itself. It's just like all it's saying is that like I think it's efficiency. I think they call it economic efficiency.
Well, yeah. Well, like basically, maybe you're speaking of what's the fucking word? Marginal utility.
No, it's not
Maybe
marginal utility.
it's
No.
related to it at least. The thing
Well, because
about marginal
yeah,
utility,
of
like
course.
like marginal utility is a big deal when you get into economics, and it's something that a lot of people gloss right over. But it's just kind of the idea that like you only have so much utility for anything, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is, and
Mhm.
because you only have so much utility, that's what creates subjective value, right? And this is
Yeah.
actually interestingly one of the few things that economics did give to Austrians. Like they all were just like, yeah, you were right here. This is basically a law. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? There's a few people who disagree still. The commies, to be specific, they
Hate
believe in the
LTV.
labor theory of value, which is
Absolutely hate LTV. It's completely untenable. Makes no
quite
sense at all.
easily disproven. Literally,
It's like
currency disproves labor theory of value.
it doesn't take a lot to disprove
It costs
LTV, I
more
think.
money to produce a $20 bill than a $50 bill. Why is the $20 bill not worth more?
Well, one thing that I
It costs
asked,
more labor to produce a $20 bill than a $50 bill.
one thing that I asked a communist one time was they were like a big LTV person, and they were like, well, if I have a factory and this factory is producing this one thing, that blah blah blah. It's like this explains the labor theory of value, and I'm like, okay, sure. What about like an accountant or a lawyer, where it's like you don't have a physical product? It's like how do you judge how much that person is paid for their services? And they basically conceded that like, yeah, I guess there's a scarcity of lawyers. There's like, oh, the experience the lawyer has. It's like, oh, hey, it turns out
And it's
more than just
subjective.
the fucking labor is in fact is affected by the thing. It's
And
like,
it's just like,
yeah,
well, I mean, it's the old capitalist argument they really hate. It's like, all right, well, go dig a hole in your backyard and tell me how much it makes you.
uh-oh.
And they'll always get
Oh,
ragey
hang
about
on.
it.
Wait,
They're
wait,
like,
wait, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. It cut out. I didn't hear you. Wait, what did you say?
it's like
It's
go
an old
go
capitalist
start
argument.
digging. Yeah, go start digging a hole in your backyard and see how much money it makes you. You're gonna put a lot of
Mhm.
labor in it. And hey, you know what? If you want to make even more money off that hole, dig it with a spoon.
Yeah,
Because now it's even more valuable hole.
yeah. It's like how difficult something was to make isn't like the end all be all. It can be. It can affect it. It doesn't. It's not that
But
big
no,
though.
what's truth is why like it's pretty obvious that the subjective theory of value is true, right?
It has to be. Yeah.
And the subjective
Doesn't make
theory
any
of
sense.
value creates marginal utility. It's like because of that, and it's also what creates infinite growth, right?
Mhm.
The principle of infinite growth that communists say is crazy. It's like that's where that theory comes from. It's like Infinite growth has to exist simply because trade, the only way for growth to stop would be for trade to stop. Because if
Hmm.
somebody is trading, they are saying, I value what I'm trading for more than what I'm trading. And for somebody, and that is what both sides are saying. So the only
Yeah.
way for a trade to happen would be for both sides to profit. That is the argument. So even honestly, in your captured market argument, right? Even that guy that's charging $1,000 for a water bottle, right? In that situation, the only way you pay that $1,000 is if there is the value of $1,000 in that water bottle.
Hmm.
Truthfully, right? If you go up to a place and you're not that thirsty, and it's $1,000 for a water bottle, you go, fuck you, I'll go somewhere else and buy a water bottle. Or I'll go
Yeah.
sip from a creek, or I'll go do something else.
Exactly. I think it is like called I think it is called economic efficiency because one of the things was like, and I absolutely hate when people on the left do this, but they'll apply a moral principle to an economic word, right? So they'll be like,
I
oh,
can't stand that shit.
it's the but consider like the if you give the water bottle example, they're like economists would call this efficient. I'm like, yeah, but no one's saying that's good. Like, no one's saying that's a good thing to do
No
that.
one is saying that. It's not
Yeah,
moral. It is. Like, I
it's a
remember
term.
arguing, like,
Yeah,
literally explaining supply and demand to somebody, and he's like, yeah, but why does it have to be that way? I don't know. Why does shit have to fall? You know,
yeah.
it just
It's
is.
yeah. It's an annoying reality.
Nobody's in charge.
Or like they call like workers like human capital, and that's all it is. It's just a term to describe something. But they'll be like, can you believe they call us human capital? That shows what they think of us. They think we are slaves. And I'm like, okay, I mean, it's just a fucking word, guys. Like,
The fucking term.
it's
Calm your tits.
it's it's literally just a fucking technical term. Nobody is fucking saying you are a slave. So yeah, that's
Oh,
annoying. What? I totally forgot the reason that I brought that up. The efficiency argument. Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, the climate stuff, right? Where it's like if something is efficient to produce, right, it doesn't necessarily make it's right to produce. So if we just worked off of that, right, it would take way longer for electric cars to be in the spectrum because they're just not very profitable. And it's like, what's the most profitable thing going to be? It's like, well, it's going to be oil, right? And it's going to be gas. Um, and I think that you can understand how, like, in a capitalist environment, the most capitalistically efficient thing might not necessarily be the most moral thing, right?
God damn. That was a good one.
Damn. Yeah. Good one, Daniel. Nice.
Damn. But
He's a
anyway.
coffee Karen. Uh-huh.
Oh, if I could talk.
Mm.
Oh. Oh. That was a big one.
He's a coffee Karen. Oh.
Whoa. Nice.
Nice.
Hey, you
Uh-huh.
remember that stuff I was telling you about? The diamonds?
Yeah.
That's what I just hit.
You hit the diamond.
That's why I can't breathe.
Yeah. It's true.
Oh.
I know how much libertarians love smoking rocks.
You know? And that shit looks just like crack.
I smoke crack because cocaine is too expensive, but I'm also ritzy, so I smoke them with diamonds.
Oh, shit. I love how often they make that joke. and how often they get made fun of by random comedians that come in on Legion of Skanks because they'll have the dab rig. They'll start firing it up and they'll be like, "Oh, you about to smoke some meth?" Because
And they're like,
it's
yes,
literally
we will.
all the same. It's all the same equipment. And all the dab equipment, that's meth and crack equipment, guys. I hope you know that.
That's fucking hilarious. So I went and saw my brother yesterday in Austin, and Austin's you know so this guy I know like brought out this some mechanism by which to inhale marijuana, and I was like, what are these machines? There's like a tube, Daniel.
Yeah. You want to know something crazy? They
Tell
have,
me.
you know what a bong is, right? I
Of
know
course,
you're
yeah.
not dumb. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you know what a gravity bong is?
No, what is that?
Okay. This is actually some pretty fucking. Stoners are fucking ingenious when it comes to
When it
figuring out
comes to
ways
smoking
smoke
weed, yeah, I know that.
They
but
really are. I swear
yeah.
to God. Like, they are fucking geniuses. And to be
Some guy
honest,
told
in
me-
other, like,
Uh-huh.
just anything around weed, they become geniuses. It's crazy. This is why I really, when I say that I literally believe, this is something fun little side thing. I actually believe that IQ has more to do with interest than anything else. It really does. Everybody knows a lot about the shit they care about. You can find the dumbest rock on the fucking planet, and he knows a lot about that one fucking thing he cares. Hank Hill will give you a fucking soliloquy about propane, and not much else.
So here's I don't like to tie intellect to knowledge. I like to tie intellect to capacity to learn, memory, critical thinking, and also knowledge, right? So I would tie IQ more to like your capacity rather
Well, that's
than
kind of what I'm
like the
saying
things
is
that you
it's
know.
like
Yeah.
even me, right? I have a lot of interest. I have an ADD ass fucking interest in a lot of random ass shit. That's how
Like
I end
Morrowind.
up getting. That's how I end up knowing about all this random shit, right?
Uh-huh.
It's because I just was like, I wonder what. Google. I wonder what. Google. You know what I'm saying? And I know
Yeah.
for a fact other people don't do that. How do I know that? Because I'll be like, hey, did you know X, Y, and Z? How the fuck you know all this random shit?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like
Uh-huh.
that's what I get back. You know what I'm saying? How the hell you know all
Yeah.
this? How do you know
Yeah.
about that? How do you know
Yeah.
about this? You know a lot about this, bro. You see what I'm saying? It's why? Because I Googled that thing. Now go ask me about particle physics, and I'm gonna be just as lost as you are.
And that's where we get a lot more of the capacity.
But it's just more. It's not that these people don't have the capacity. I really just believe they don't have the interest, and I'm not hating on it.
Bro, I don't think I have the capacity for particle physics. Yesterday, I was asking my brother so many fucking questions about science. I was like, bro, you need to fucking teach me relativity right now.
Sean Carroll, you ever listen to him?
No, who's that?
Big recommend for you. Sean Carroll, he does Mindscapes. He explains quantum physics on his podcast. Fucking awesome. You ever want to just like listen to a podcast for 5 minutes, rewind it back, listen to it again, and then rewind it back and listen to it again?
Because you didn't understand anything.
3 or 4 hours to listen to a 30-minute podcast. Great podcast to listen to.
Okay. Fair enough. I like science shit. All right, I like Richard Feynman and Brian Cox.
Like I said, I nerd out about this shit. Like all this stuff that I was telling you about, like vaccines and all that. It's because the shit was going on in the world. I was curious, so I went and I learned. I took and put my nose in books, in studies, and all of this stuff. And like people would be like, "Oh, well, you got this from some random podcast. You got it from CNN." No, it was a doctor. Yeah, it was a doctor on that podcast too. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like I'm looking at doctors from multiple sources, whether it be from this podcast or that podcast, whether it be from, CNN or Fox News or whatever. I'm looking at the actual science that they're citing and referring to, and then I'm making the decision.
So I'm not accusing you of this, but I think that there is probably a greater level of selection bias in people who are doing that rather than people who are like watching the scientists on the news, right? Because I could probably talk to like 5 doctors with enough selection bias that would convince me that germs aren't real.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, like, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not trying to selection bias per se, but I am going, for and
yeah,
against,
yeah. I'm
right?
not. So
And then
I'm not
I'm looking
accusing
at the
you of that,
actual
right?
arguments for and against. Like, I don't want to just say, hey, this guy says A, this guy says B. Well, why does this guy say A? Why does this guy say B? What is the
And
background there?
so I understand that, which is why. So I'm not accusing you of that because I think you're an intelligent guy. I like you, Daniel. You got a nice little beard going on.
Which is why, like I said, you remember when we were talking about it, like, I was going deep into the vaccines, and then I'm just like, well, why the fuck is any of this? So I look into what exactly is going on, and it's like, okay, that's starting to make things make a little bit more sense.
Mhm.
It's like, so, like, I do Socratically challenge my own ideas.
Right.
You know what I mean? I really do, because it's like
Um,
I want to find fault in them before someone else does.
yeah, and I understand that. I I get that. Uh,
Might want to
but
put the light on.
anyway, so I think I can very much empathize with the position of other people if you are watching something like Joe Rogan or some other kind of like alternative media thing and you're getting like, these doctors. I think there's probably a greater level of selection bias there than with like people who are watching the doctors on CNN, because those doctors on CNN are probably more in line with like the medical field at large rather than like the people on these alternative media things. They will come away with the feeling that you probably have selection bias for that reason. I'm empathetic to that. I'm not empathetic to like what's actually happening, but I can understand why they would feel that way, right?
Well, like I said, I would still argue that there's still a selection bias from the other side too. That's kind of my point. Is like, I get making the argument, and you could even say that when you have the segment. Hey, most of the field disagrees with you and says that you're wrong. What is it that you say that makes, you know what I mean? It's fair to even
Uh,
make that point, but it's like, to
I,
literally
I
not even listen to the
yeah.
guy
So
kind
I
of makes
think,
it look like you're not
and
hearing everything out.
that's why I do think that Joe Rogan should do that more. Okay, that's where my criticism of Joe Rogan come in. Where I'm like,
Joe
be
Rogan
nice
had
if
people
he.
pro and against the vaccine. He had people pro and against the whole Egypt thing, and the
Okay,
Egypt thing was a
but
big deal. Every
okay, but
single
watch,
scientific
but
thing that he's
wait,
ever had, he's had somebody
but
pro and
but
against.
but wait, right? Where it's like if you don't have them on at the same time, and if you look at the popularity of those episodes, the ones where it's like anti-vax are way more viewed than the ones that are like the
Okay.
real shit, right?
Okay.
So
So,
I feel like Joe
and a lot
Rogan,
of times,
uh-huh.
a lot of times, if not every time, from at least to my knowledge, that anyone has ever asked to come on there with someone and actually talk it out, he has provided that opportunity.
Yeah, but I
Most
think
of
that
the time, it's the person who's arguing for the vaccine who is declining to sit down and talk.
I think that Joe
Oftentimes,
Rogan
it's
should.
that.
Well, don't you think it would be that Joe Rogan would be a better interviewer if he did push back more often against those people and like knew a little bit more about what he was talking about, or just had somebody on?
Well, like
'Cause
Joe
well, so he
Rogan,
fact checks with Jamie on the political people because that's easy, right? But it's like
right?
way harder when it's like a science guy because like
And
Jamie
he
doesn't know
does
how to
do
look
it
that
with
up.
science guys all the time, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's more difficult, right? So
It
it's
is
like
a
if
lot
like
more difficult, which is why,
yeah.
if yeah, which is why I go back to like the Pierre Corey thing. Why wouldn't he come down and sit down and talk to somebody and
I,
do it, and
I
or
don't know,
any
but
of these
like
other guys?
the
Because
the
it's
the
not like it's not been an open invitation. He has put that out as an open invitation for
so
somebody to
like
come and
with
sit down and talk.
I'll give 2 examples, right, and then one of like well, I'll give 3 examples. So one example is like with the Matt Walsh thing, right? They just looked up like the trans thing, like how many kids are on puberty blockers, right? Matt Walsh is saying like millions of children are happening to this, right? And
Right.
then like Jamie looks it up right there. It's like a couple thousand, right? Immediate. That's so fucking easy. Dunks on
Right.
Matt Walsh. Fucking easy as shit, right? And then it's like there's the what's his name, David Rubin, right? So Dave Rubin like comes in and he's like, "Oh, we should take away all these like safety regulations." And Joe Rogan's like, "My dad worked in construction. You're a fucking idiot." And it's like those are two situations where it's like really fucking easy, and one where like Joe Rogan actually knows a lot about the subject, right? Which I liked. That was really good pushback against Dave Rubin. So that's two instances where it's like super fucking easy. But then there's like the RFK thing where he's like Wi-Fi is doing the like the blood-brain barrier thing, and like Jamie pulls up the study that the guy tells him to do, but they can't read the study really because it's a lot of really complex language and they don't really understand it, and it's really long. So it's a lot more difficult for Jamie to just like pull it up and be like, "Oh, hey, you're wrong about this, RFK," even though RFK is like he's totally wrong about that.
Right. But
Like,
that's what I'm kind of saying is when that happened, you had a slew of people that were willing to say he was wrong, willing to come on after by themselves and explain why he was wrong, but not willing to sit down with him and say why he was wrong. And what does that make it look like?
so
It makes it look like you're okay with taking shots at somebody as long as he's not in the room.
Well, so here's the difference, right? Because I'm sure there are people who are totally more well prepared for that kind of situation who would have already been willing to be on. So like if Joe Rogan was like, "Hey, I'm having this podcast with RFK. I want somebody who knows a lot about vaccines to be on it when I do it," right? If he frames it like that, then other people can come to him rather than Joe Rogan pointing at a specific guy who's not prepared to do it and also doesn't want to have a debate and doesn't really do debates. And
but he did offer that after the guy said no. He did offer that to other people. He's like, if there's another accredited guy that wants to come on there and debate this with him,
yeah, but not debate, right? Because it's like
or discuss. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Sure, but I think it's really difficult once that has already happened. Mostly because Joe Rogan kind of has like a right wing audience, and it's like so. Joe Rogan is kind of on a specific side, and RFK is on a specific side, and his audience is on a specific side. It's like
also debate isn't just a political thing as well. Debate is a scientific thing as well. It happens in science.
Scientific debate as a concept is very different than debate as a concept. What you and I do is drastically different than scientific debate.
There have been numerous scientific debates on climate change specifically with people from both sides.
And that's fine, but those in practice are not scientific debates because that's not where they happen. That's a debate like what we're having, right? And the substance might be on science, and scientists are using that, right? Because what we're doing is a charisma thing, right? It's a charisma thing, and it's a little bit of an intellectual thing because, like, one, we have to be intellectual, and two, it also helps if you're intellectual. But it's like 90% it's a charisma thing, like what we do. What they do, these guys are fucking sweaty nerds, okay? And not like us. They're like more sweaty nerds. They're like my brother, okay? The debate that goes on there, scientific debate, as you would call it in a term, is done in research papers and pretty much exclusively done there. I don't hold anything against anybody for not being willing to have that debate or wanting it, especially because it's an after the fact thing. It wasn't like a beforehand. Joe Rogan was like, "Hey, I want some guy to like come on with RFK. This is what he's going to say, right? These are the papers you have to read. And both of you can read the papers and discuss them." Because I don't really think that's what it was going to be. And it's also after the fact, after it's already happened, and like a bunch of people know it's like.
I do agree with that.
Okay, well, I'm just going to get shat on.
Whereas in a political debate, I would argue you shouldn't get the questions ahead of time. I would argue in a scientific debate, you should. So it's fair 100%. That you know what you're talking about when you're talking about it. Both.
And
it's not part of it. Part of politics is knowing that you're prepared for any question related to politics. But when you're doing science, it's like, what are we actually talking about? Let me prepare for that discussion.
Yeah. So I think if that were to happen, and he like, shut it out. It's like the wide net rather than like pointing, the finger. And I know that he did that the second time, but it's kind of after the box has already been opened. It's like, I think that is a way more reasonable way to go about it. And I also think like even if he wants to do an actual debate between these people, I think he needs to get another moderator. I don't want Joe Rogan to be the person moderating.
And then you also have to realize too, in the whole Pierre Corey situation too, like Pierre Corey was specifically calling out Joe Rogan, calling him names, calling him a white supremacist. You know, he was specifically attacking Joe Rogan,
which is not
at
good.
that
And
point.
also,
So to sit here and be like, "Oh, well, he pointed the finger and it was so unfair," it's like, yeah, well, that guy was not exactly being fair either.
Well, okay, so first of all, fuck that if that happened. I don't really know about the Pierre Corey guy. I was more talking about the Hotez. I was talking about the Hotez guy. But yeah, fuck anyone who calls Joe Rogan a white supremacist. Listen, this is one thing. No matter how much I disagree with a person, no matter how much I hate a person, no matter how much this person fills me with rage, okay, I am infuriated when people tell lies about other people. Okay,
Agreed.
I was in a fucking kind of lefty progressive group a long time ago, right? And there's this fucking horrible woman, just an awful, awful woman who was a communist and super against me and was like, you're this and you're that, and I fucking hate you and whatever. Fucking hate that lady, all right? Some other dude came in with politics more similar to mine and called her a fascist. And I told that guy to shut the fuck up. Because she is not a fascist, and I hate her, but do not lie.
Right. And I agree.
So do not lie about Joe Rogan.
I got a lot of hate for that with Trump, because it was like all this stuff that was fake spreading around, and I'm like,
that shit's
there is plenty of real shit.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing I'll say with any president. There is plenty of real shit to attack them over. I promise. I don't care what person it is. People are flawed. There is plenty of real shit to attack them on. Don't make shit up.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand that shit. I agree with you there.
Yeah, it's infuriating. And hey, I don't even hate Joe Rogan. Okay, I just think he's kind of dumb and needs to be a little more responsible.
Just like that whole video, it's like here's a tape of him saying the N-word a bunch, and it's like in a comedy special with people laughing all around him. It's quite obvious that he wasn't at a Klan rally leading, you know what I mean, like a racist chant. He was making a joke. You know what I mean? Like the intent is not the same.
And you know what's amazing, Daniel? Okay, that you and I can get together and have that, because we live in reality, and Republicans don't have that. Because if Donald Trump was saying the N-word over and over and over again, and he was literally at a Klan rally, okay, unless he literally says, I am a racist and I do racist things, Republicans would be like, well, he's not a racist. Look at the context. Come on, I mean, you fucking liberals. So thanks to you for living in reality, and I agree that Joe Rogan, not a Klan member, not a racist, okay? If you want to say the N-word in a comedy special, that's all on you. Great. I love it. Wonderful.
I hope it works out, because it is a hella risk. It better be funny. It's like a lot of those things. It's like it's a risk comedically. Will I think you're a white supremacist afterward? No. Will I think you told a horrible joke? Yes, that's very possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that one Bobby guy apparently told a joke with the N-word in it, where he's talking about something his dad told him. And
that's the worst one. Oh my god, when a motherfucker is quoting someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm mad at him. He said the word. It's the no-no word. It's like you guys are treating this word like it's Voldemort.
I mean, there's a bigger conversation we had about that, and
only Death Eaters can say that.
Listen, if you literally want to have a podcast on that whole thing, I'm totally down to do it, because I am infuriated.
Oh
and
my fucking god!
I'm not gonna say it out loud on the internet because I want to have a career. But you know what? I think you should be able to say it, and I'm not afraid to say that. At least I would put that on my Twitter.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a weird cultural thing. I think I think that like it should be treated as any other word. Like
Yeah.
if I say the right sequence of words, it achieves people getting violent because I'm being an asshole,
Mhm.
right? And specifically picking out the words, it's kind of irrelevant, right? It's kind of like if
Yeah.
I say, "Hey, I'm gonna beat your ass, you black piece of shit." Saying you N word doesn't really change what just was said.
It does change the feeling a little bit. It makes it a little more visceral. You got to agree with that, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of like
They just drop like, they just
yeah,
drop it in there. It does feel a little more like,
like
ooh.
again, like you're getting to the like that's the power that we've added to the word. It doesn't mean anything different. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no. But that's less of a that specific word kind of thing, but more on like a slur thing, I think. Because while I agree that we have given the word too much power, all words have power to some degree. So like, and
Correct.
this is a word I can say because I'm Hispanic. I can say this, internet. It's live, but I can say this. I'm Hispanic. I'm half Mexican. I'm caveating this. I am Mexican. I'm not getting canceled. Okay. So if Daniel comes in and he's like, I'm going to beat you up, you Mexican piece of shit, that sounds bad. But he's like, I'm going to beat you up, you spit. I'd be like, oh, shit. That's worse. That word does have power.
But yeah, my big point getting to is like honestly, to be real though, like the power
Yeah.
is slowly trying to fade from that word, and it's not being let happen with
Yeah.
the advent of the removal of the hard A and or hard R and the addition of the soft A. Um, that is something that I have noticed as well. Like, and again, like that is a good one to really use as the example because it's kind of like, how do you see it when it's used? It's like, well, the Rosenbaum guy, when he's screaming, shoot me, N word, shoot me, N word, shoot me, N word, like,
Yeah.
I see that as, it doesn't matter that he used the A. He's meaning it
Yeah.
with the R.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The word is fucking irrelevant. Like it's what I'm worried about is your intent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if you're just saying it funnily while you're singing karaoke at a rap song or you're jamming down the road, it's like the intent is I like this song, I'm singing the words. You know what I mean? It's like I don't
Yeah.
have any animus. I like this song, I'm singing the words.
I mean, one of my, I got really mad. There's was it Kendrick? Was it Kendrick who had the line that like had that word in it, and he had a woman come up on stage and sing the song, and she got to that part and she said it, and then everybody fucking screamed at her, and he was like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "She's singing your song."
Like you
Like,
wrote the
bro,
lyric, dog.
you told her to come sing it. Like, what do you mean? That lady
you,
got canceled and
you
shit. I was so mad
basically
about that.
set that woman up.
Yes, you actually fucking set her up. Okay, that's entrapment.
Yeah, that's what we would call entrapment, folks. But like that's
um,
kind of my thing is like I don't know, man. Like they literally have kids singing a rap song on TikTok, losing their whole life ahead of them. It's
fucking
fucking
ridiculous.
retarded.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
horrible.
so dumb. And and like I said, it's like it should be seen. And that's personally my just personal opinion. It literally should be seen like that. Like I promise you, I don't care if it's an A or an R. If somebody calls my kid that and they're being vicious, they're
Yeah,
going to get the wrath. But if they were to say it
yeah,
and they were joking, I'd just be like, okay, it's a
yeah.
joke.
Yeah, I'm a
You know what
little,
I mean?
yeah,
It's a funny. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And like I don't know. Like I obviously
It,
also understand the quote unquote too many jokes and the I'm saying it as I'm joking, but I'm not really joking.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
dumb. I
oh,
get
yeah.
that too. But that's kind of my point is like the guy that's at a comedy special, he's really joking.
Yeah. Yeah. Except Michael Richards. Except Kramer, not him. That
What?
man was not joking.
Yeah, sometimes they're dead serious. But like they
Sometimes
double
you are
down.
screaming the N-word at a guy who's heckling you, and you're just
Well, that's
you
because
just got venom.
he broke the cardinal rule. Patrice O'Neal, right? One of the greatest comics who ever lived. Patrice O'Neal once said famously, "Don't get mad, or don't get mad, get funny." That's how you deal with a heckler. You're the one you're the one that's a comedian, and you're the one with a mic. If you can't win that battle, you don't deserve to be on the stage. That is exactly what he said about it. You're the one with the mic, you're the one with the audience, and you're the one with the jokes. If you can't win that battle, you don't deserve to be on the stage. If the heckler is funnier than you are, you need to hand him the mic and step off that stage. And he's got a point.
It's you know, sometimes it just gets to you. And one thing I gotta say is it's okay to fail. You know, if heckler just really gets to you, it's okay to fail. Feels bad, feels really shitty.
Say, man,
especially when you're on stage.
Comedy show I saw, I can't even remember what the chick's name was, but like she got heckled, and that was the one time when somebody got heckled, and the crowd was like, "No, don't heckle her," and I was like, "Nah, she kind of deserved that shit." It's like because she had like a fucking 15-minute fucking set, and spent 10 minutes of it like, I got a new movie coming out, I got this new album that I'm releasing, and it's like, bro, I am not here to hear ads. I'm here to hear comedy.
No, I get it.
I have already paid.
I'm not here to see that show. By the way,
I'm cool with you giving a fucking 2-minute plug at the end of your set. Cool. Or at the beginning of your set. Cool. But like, you're here for 15 minutes of it, and most of it was you promoting your shit. And that was literally what the guy said. He said, "How about you do some comedy?" And I was like, he's got a point. Tell some fucking jokes.
By the way, Victoria commented on our stream on the page.
Oh, beautiful.
I asked if you will become a Democrat today, and she said it's close. I could see a possibility. Victoria said, "You're a damn dude."
I told you.
Are you voting for Biden?
It's so funny, man. All the Republicans are like, "Oh man, he's basically a Democrat." And all the Democrats are like, "Come on, man, he's basically a Republican."
Listen, I have more of a foot in the water. You're a bit right wing, but you have compassion, and that means you're better than almost every Republican. Okay.
How about this, Olive Branch? You ready for this?
Tell me. Give me the olive branch.
And I could be wrong. Maybe a libertarian will scream at me later. Yeah. I will give you an example of a time where government accidentally made things better.
Okay.
I will also give you the caveat that there was a lot of horrible that came along with this. The rise in the price of gasoline because of the invasion of like 15 different Middle Eastern countries created technology and aerodynamics and fuel efficiency in general that created way more fuel efficient cars than we ever would have had. Because people were sick of spending $8 a gallon on gas. It was never that.
That's good. You know what else I think is good? I think it's good.
It only came at the price of a few million lives, but
yeah, I like when the government makes people more free, like letting gay people get married. That's pretty cool. It's the government attacking the government, but you got to understand that not all governments are the same. No.
Getting out of the government.
No. Because not all regimes are the same, right? Okay, not all regimes are the same. the government right after the Nazis were like, no more Nazi shit. That was a good thing they did, right?
Except,
And so our government being like, hey, no more,
again,
no more discriminating against gay people. That's good.
I'm not going to tangent out this, but it's another one of those examples of where the government, like, did their own problem. Like, I could go forever on Nazis and draw direct lines from, like, what literally created the Nazi Party was a bunch of government action.
Do you
First
think it
of
was
all,
good?
It was in response. Second of all,
Uh-huh.
I would also argue that hate crimes in Germany post the crackdown on that actually went up,
That
not
doesn't
down.
surprise me at all, but I wouldn't put that on the
And
government.
there's people that have compared it to other countries that didn't do similar things that had similar policies and similar kind of situations. Like
I
like
don't
Antebellum
know. I
South
don't
and
know
things
though,
like that.
man. I don't know if you could
And
compare anybody to the anti-Semitic state of Nazi, like post-Nazi Germany. Like, oof.
well, you got to realize that they weren't the only ones that were anti-Semitic, and Germany wasn't just like Germany
Yeah,
wasn't just
I
the
know.
state
They
that
expanded out, right? But
right.
like the center of, I mean, that was the capital of like we're the racist guys. Like, I don't know if there's anything you could do to like eliminate that sentiment, like
Well, that's like
like right after.
that's a generalized European thing
I
at
well,
that point.
I'm not gonna dispute that it was anti-Semitic. I mean, fuck, even America was like super anti-Semitic, but to the degree that Germans were, especially around that time, like I don't know, you know, Hitler took a lot of dubious actions or dubious feelings within people and turned them into horrible infernos, and
I'm making
that's
the
what
point that it's not
charismatic people
obvious
do.
that illegalizing the Nazi Party did anything to
Oh, well, that's
quell
not specifically what I was
Nazism.
talking about. I'm just more like, hey, like, our regime is not doing the regime that the last one was, right? And I think it's good when the government, separates itself from past evils. And I think it
I'm
is
cool
evil in
with
this
saying
country that gay
that. I'm
people
cool
were
with
not
saying,
allowed to
hey,
get
I ain't
married.
got nothing to do with that shit. I'm cool
Yeah.
with saying that, and we're not going to continue any of it. We're not going to bring any of that. That's dead. I'm cool with
Yeah.
them saying that, but them literally actively saying you can't support this, you can't have this thought.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
whatever you want to say about that, that's fine. But it doesn't
that's
really
an
have to do with
issue.
what I'm talking about. It's more like, hey, America had a great evil in it for a long time. The fact that gay people could not get married, and that many gay people were discriminated from getting married, and people
Right.
couldn't get married in certain states. And I think that is a horrible evil that needs to be
Which,
killed.
like I said, is better that it was done at all. But I would have actually
Yeah,
preferred they did it under the First Amendment and called it a day.
yeah, would have been nice. Yeah.
And just illegalized all marriage.
Like you're not gonna get that, but I
That's
listen. Okay,
what
little
I prefer.
victories, right, Daniel?
It's the
Little
same thing.
victories. Like gay people get
It's the
married.
same thing I said about the goddamn lawyers. Why are y'all so obsessed with the 14th Amendment?
Mm-hmm.
More the 14th Amendment has overturned more laws than any other amendment in the Constitution. Fun fact.
Okay.
Um but the 14th Amendment they used to overturn the draft recently, right?
Whoa.
And now they have to decide whether or not they're going to have the draft at all or make women sign up for it. Because it was challenged
That's
under the 14th Amendment saying that it was sexist to not make women sign up for the draft as well.
that is really interesting. I mean, they might
And
do
I
it
say
where
they
it's
should
like
have
women have to
challenged
be.
it under the 13th, not the 14th.
I mean, that's kind of fair.
Because
But
it
in
is
terms,
obviously involuntary servitude.
yeah.
And you could have removed the draft completely.
I can understand your position on that, but hey, you know what? I'm okay with the draft if everyone is involved. But I mean, like, women shouldn't be put in combat positions, obviously. In
Well, I
terms
mean,
of
we started
drafting.
this with the obvious truth of women can't do some things that men can do.
Yeah, yeah,
But
and like,
but that's honestly where I don't think that there should be any sex restrictions to the military. But I do think that
yeah,
there shouldn't be any differential to the physical requirements. So it's like if you require someone run a mile in 5 minutes, everyone should run a mile in 5 minutes. If you require someone to do this many pull-ups, I think everyone, and the reason I say that they shouldn't have reduced requirements for women is because you are literally setting up the women to fail. It's like if you a couple of examples. Like first off, the flexed arm hang, right, is what they make women do rather than the pull up, which is what they make men do. The reason why they have men do pull ups is so they can pull themselves up and over obstacles. That's the reason why you need that physical fitness, right? A flexed arm hang is so you can hold on there until someone can reach down and pick you up.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So you're literally putting them in a combat situation where they have to wait for someone to help them.
So
Not
I
only
think
does
that
hurt them, it hurts the person trying to help them. If I'm reaching down to pick somebody in a war zone, I could get shot at that moment. I'm completely vulnerable.
Yes.
So it's like you are literally making, and then secondly, if you're running slower, 2 minutes slower than all the other people in your platoon, what happens during a retreat? You've just become a human shield for all the people who, quote unquote, now matter. You see what I'm saying? Because you're all at the back.
Yeah. So in terms of, so people will criticize the military a lot for making that decision of making it like easier for, like changing the thing so more women could join the military. I don't think it's necessarily
making it easier for everyone if those requirements are too unnecessary. I'm cool with that.
Oh, that was one thing. It's more like I think that this is how they should do it, and they might already do it this way, where it's like, okay, there's a baseline to get in, so that way as many people as possible can get in, and then the people who are going to be like infantry and stuff, they go to their second boot camp, because Marines already do that, I know.
Right.
Once you're in there, you're like, you're doing the other shit. It's just like if you're infantry, you're gonna do like more shit. So they're gonna make sure like, oh, you can do like beyond that. And like if you're an office worker and you can't do like the flex hang stuff, it's like, and most people are office workers, and that's not just women. That's most men are office workers too. So
like, generally, that's kind of my point. Is like if your whole point is that like we need this so you're ready for battle, then why are they not the same standard? It's the same thing with firefighters. That's another one that's kind of weird. Like men have to firemen carry, women have to prove they can drag. Which if you're a victim in a fire and you're 15 flights up the stairs, you're gonna want that guy to fireman carry you, not drag you. Thump, 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 down the stairs. So it's like it's not about being sexist. It's about creating another person to save in the fire.
Yes, yeah, and I 100% agree with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. Most men are more capable of doing certain things. And there's a female fighter I know that can fucking fireman carry me. But
for sure,
she could do it,
and she should be allowed to be a firefighter, and I would fight like hell for her to have that right. I'm not arguing against that. If you're going to have physical requirements, whoever the fuck meets it gets to be doing that if they want to do it.
Yeah. See,
but like in my opinion,
why liberalism
that's how
so good.
believe. That's how I believe. But at the same time, I really think it's retarded to lower the standards so you'll get more of X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, you should be setting the standards not based on who you're getting, but based on who you need.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Sure.
Like when they were talking about like reducing at the FAA, they were talking about reducing the standards for pilot tests because they were like, we're not getting enough of these certain ethnicities as pilots. And it's like, well, then, like, give scholarships or something. Like, I want my pilot to be able to fly good. I don't care what color he is. I want to land.
Yeah. No, I get that. 100%. Hey, Danny, there's one more thing.
We're talking about a competency test here. We're not talking about, like...
So we have... So I'm gonna say we're gonna cut it off at 8. There's actually one more thing on this list, Danny.
Okay, one more. Go.
Okay. It's one thing I love and I know you hate, and I wonder if you can guess it because it's kind of a big issue.
I don't know.
It's the Ukraine war.
Oh, the Ukraine war, huh?
Yeah. Based Biden stopping the new axis of evil on the other side of the planet. Hell yeah.
The
Without
axis of
strong
evil,
commitments,
just
creating
spitting
a
all the
new world
propaganda
war.
out.
No, the axis of evil is just Putin. Don't worry. Okay. I'm not. Russians are not evil. Okay. Russia is
And
not
it's
the axis
not
of
an
evil.
axis.
Putin. Yeah, it is. Okay. It's Putin and his fucking little
It's not an
oligarchy men.
axis.
No, it's he is the axis of evil.
It
Okay.
was the Allies versus the Axis. The Axis were the Allies on the other side. The Axis
Yeah.
was referring to multiple countries
Yeah.
joined together against us.
Yeah, and you know what? Okay. Bush said that about Iran, and he was right. It was a stupid thing to say. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Again, it was propaganda then. It's propaganda now.
No, I think Putin is pretty evil, and I'm really hope that he gets so unpopular in Russia that people overthrow him. But it seems like it's leaning that way. Not
You
quite there
think
yet. But
hearing that would send you into the whole like, I got a cruise for you, if you reply to this email.
what? Like the fact that I say that, you're like, oh, I'll buy anything. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
no, that's not the point I'm making. I'm like, this is the scam, the exact same scam that was ran on you before by the exact same people. Like, go look at the Defense Department, all the people that are all over it. It's the same fucking people that were
Yeah, no,
screaming
I
that
just
Iran's gonna nuke us. We need to go over there and take over the Middle East.
no, I don't think
Trust
we should
me,
be
if
doing
we
that.
don't get rid of Saddam Hussein, he's going to give nukes to the terrorists he don't like.
I think that Biden is playing it
Nukes
perfectly.
he doesn't
The
have,
fact that
terrorists he
U.S.
doesn't like.
soldiers, the fact that U.S. soldiers are not in Russia and in Ukraine killing people, I think is wonderful. And I think Biden is playing it excellently, very intelligently. I think the world is handling the war quite well,
Right.
except for Russia. Fuck them. But yeah,
That's
you
the
know.
kind of horrifying shit that I hate right there, because it's just like, oh well, no Americans are dying, so it's cool.
No, I'm saying that that is a good political strategy as to not escalate the war.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
it
that
is a very
Americans
good
aren't dying.
political strategy to say that no Americans are dying, because people tend to not care about people outside of America.
Well, no,
It's
but
kind of
no.
weird
Well,
too, to be honest.
that's
I've
well,
always
that's
thought
not
that was weird.
why. It's that if we sent American soldiers to go and fight Russia, it would actually start World War
Like,
III.
why does a woman in New York City care about the abortion laws in Texas more than the abortion laws in Argentina?
Well, so I
They
mean,
affect her the same amount.
well, I don't think that that is a wrong
It's
thing to
nationalism.
say. Well, no, that's not what
Everybody's a
nationalism
little
means.
bit nationalist, whether or not they
That's
want
not
to
what
admit it or not.
that's not what nationalism means, though. There's no
You think the
jingoistic
people of
aspect to
your
that.
country are worth more than the people of other countries? That's nationalism.
I mean, not in the way that I would describe nationalism. I would just say that.
I mean, there's varying degrees of it, just like there's varying degrees of racism. You think your race is superior to other races. There are varying
I, don't-
degrees of that, but that doesn't mean that it's not racism.
I
Just
think
like
those are very.
that's still nationalism.
I think those are very different things. So, like, if I say that I care about feminism in America, that's more just because I have more agency over American policy than I do.
It's one thing to say that
You know?
I feel I can do more about it here, but if you care about feminism, you should care about feminism everywhere.
Yeah,
I
and I
care
mean,
about
I think
liberty. I care about it everywhere. I want all people to be free, not just me. But
yeah,
that's selfish.
sure, and I get that.
And I don't. I want all people to be free. And anytime any people get freer, I think that's a good thing, right? So it's like I like, that's just truthfully the way I see it. And it's like, to me, of course I localize what I'm talking about, and generally to American policy, because that is what I generally feel like can affect the most, truthfully, right? But if you
Yeah.
told me, hey, they have abortion laws like this, and or they have tax laws like this, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's fucking horrible. You
But
know what I
like,
mean? They
it's
should
so if I
probably
were
do
to,
something about which. And if I could do something, I would definitely try to do something about it. If
I
you
don't
could
think.
point to anything I could do to make anyone freer in the world, I would do it.
Yeah, so I understand that and I agree with that, of course. But like, if you look at, okay, so like for instance, I love, I love a lot of things about America, right? I love America. It's great. A lot of cool things are from America and in America, and I'm in America, and my family's in America, and I love that about it, right? I don't think America is the best country in the world. I think America is very good at a lot of things, and that is why I don't think it's nationalistic. Because if you're a nationalist, you say, my country is the best country in the world. It's better than other countries. But this is more of a stance of like, one, I care about my country because I care about my
Well, like I
family and
said,
I care about the
nationalism
people
is
in
just
it.
tribalism, really, at the end of the day.
I mean,
And that's all it is. It's just like it's my tribe, so I care about my tribe more.
I mean, if you want to use the word
it's kind
nationalism,
of
I don't
like
think
it's
it's
kind of the
accurate.
argument
But
that I've made before when talking about you know like Yemen and stuff like that, where people will be like, terrorists killed 100,000 people on 9/11, and I'm like, how many Yemeni people is that worth? You know what I mean? How many Iraqis is that worth? How many? You know what I'm saying? Because I can show you some numbers of some innocent people that are dead. Because it's like at a certain point, it's like if you see them as terrorists for killing a shitload of innocent people because they were pissed at us, right? Then what does that make us? And that's kind of the argument that I generally will make. That's truthfully the point. It's like if you want to be a good guy, then you have to do things the right way. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing I say about cops and stuff like that. It's like how do you see the cops as the good guys? If they don't show up and just unload into the criminal, they're like, hey, you should surrender, and he's like, no. And they're like, hey, we really think you should surrender, and they're talking to him on the loudspeaker. You know what I mean? That's good cop stuff. That's when you watch a movie and you're like, hey, the good cop, that's what he does, right? What the good cop does in the movies is what we generally think a cop should be doing. You know what I mean? And I think that is a very interesting thing. And you know what I'm saying? There's a uh it's an anecdotal one story, but it's like uh I think it was Homeland or 24 or one of those big shows that came out right after 9/11 about terrorists. I'm hunting terrorists, right?
Mhm.
And the guy's like, I got eyes on the target. He's on a sniper rifle, and he's like, all right, you're cleared to take the shot. And he's aiming through, and he's like, and then there's, oh no, he's with his kid. I'm standing down. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, like that would ever happen. They wouldn't even give a fuck if the fucking bullet went through and hit the kid. You know what I'm saying? But we all know that if the guy literally kills the guy in front of his kid's like, Daddy! Who's seen as the bad guy in that situation?
You know what?
It becomes very clear narratively.
Yeah. But if you're a good show, it's not clear. Anyway.
But you get my point.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so I gotta head out. Thank you so much for this conversation.
That was great, dude. I had a good time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come up with a list. I'm gonna turn this around on you next weekend. It's gonna be beautiful.
It's gonna be okay. I hope it's not Biden's bad things. I hope it's like good things that Trump did. That you're like, yeah, now you're gonna vote for Trump.
I might do that. I might try to sit here and dig through some Trump shit.
Whatever you'd like.
I might do a surprising one. I'm trying to think. I might just pick a random person and then do a bunch of policies, have you say like or not like, and then actually see if you can guess who it is.
Okay, you'd have to give more details than I gave you. I tried to give a decent amount on them, as much as I could, but I need a lot of details for that one. But if you're lazy, I understand. So I'll just say yes, and then you'll be like, hey, you agree with the Republican.
Ha! You
Okay.
fucking
So,
Republican.
all right. Peace, brother.
Peace, bro.